my friends. This is Mark from the Toys of a Time Gone By. And on today's episode, we will be talking about Faker, the new Faker that just came out, vintage collection Faker. You see I've got plenty of things to talk about here, but really going to concentrate on Faker right now. There's other stuff that I have to kind of like get through into the pipeline here, but we will start with this here guy. And in my opinion, he's really pretty good. So let's grab him and let's take a look at him. All right. Well, before we take a look at him, let's take a look at the box. Let's put him back over here. And let's look at this cool box. This is a sweet box. It does harken back to the vintage style boxes that we got. And the artwork, amazing artwork. I mean, they really captured the vintage style. The back here. Faker is no He-Man. He's the evil blue robotic warrior of Skeletor. You know, to me, that always made sense. That he should, like, some people go, you know, well, if he looks exactly like He-Man, well, how could that be a disguise? Just like Superman and Clark Kent. Like, you don't know he's Superman. You don't know Clark Kent's Superman until he takes his glasses off, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's Superman. Okay. Well, it made sense to me that they did it that way to make, I guess, kind of in a lazy way to make a new character by just casting him in that light blue color, that blue color. It did make sense to me as a child, and I always loved that figure. I always wanted that figure as a child. And I don't even remember if I actually had that figure or if a friend had that figure when I was, but all I know is that I did think it was so cool. That blue figure and all that. That was just so cool. I really liked that figure. But in the cartoon, he was just looked exactly like He-Man. You know, exactly. So you couldn't really kind of tell except for the glowing eyes. So it made sense to me that they changed the figure for the toy line. You know, as a child, oh, we got this cool looking He-Man, blue He-Man figure. Like pretty much He-Man, that all the oxygen was coming out of it. He turned blue and he had no oxygen in his body or something like that. Well, it's just a funny thing. But you can look on here and look at the artwork. It's really good. Arm for battle. Arm for battle. Shouldn't it say armed for battle? Reveal robotic recorder. I think they missed a few letters here. Arm for battle. Right here. Arm for battle. Okay. And let's turn it around here. It's got that nice burst, lightning bolts and rocks, and I always loved how that looked. I mean, they just captured that. I love how that looked. Even as a child, I loved that burst of rocks. That was so cool. So let's get into the figure, and let's take a look at him. Dropping everything here. So can't stand here. Can't stand. There we go. So there he is, and I love this big old buck that they gave him. That's really, really cool. They gave him this huge buck, and I swear that definitely is something we needed. And that face is really amazing. That face. That is a great face right there. That is a great face. That is exactly, you know, it's the 40th anniversary He-Man face. But this, I don't know, the way it looks here in this blue color just gives it a more intense look. And he's just amazing, this guy here. He comes with an axe, he comes with a shield, and he comes with a sword. Definitely he's got to do that. And wouldn't it have been cool if he came with the skeleton, the orange belt here? I guess they call it a belt, or not the loin, but that piece that, I don't know what they call it as a belt. It would be cool if they came like that orange belt and like Leo Faker, the black under the eye. That would have been neat, I have to say. But I think he looks great. Down to his boots, he's got that purple, he's got straps that are painted. Definitely, you guys know all the articulation points, so there's no reason to go through all the articulation, but he's double jointed, or, you know, double jointed here. And sometimes it kind of like gets stuck tightly. But then he's got the piece in here, which people are saying the piece, the tape recorder, they're saying the tape recorder is like a die-cast metal. And that, you know, it's got some weight on it, so maybe that gives it a little weight. I mean, he's pretty heavy, you know, so we all know what all this, you know, this guy's about. So we definitely like these color. People talk about the colors of the weapons, the accessories, and like a metallic gold color, and I think it's pretty nice. It's a nice touch, the metallic gold color. I mean, I'm listening to people like, why couldn't it be just the same color orange as the orange on the armor here? But I'm also my thought process is it is not an Origins figure. It is a Masterverse figure. So I'm thinking that they did that gold metallic to make it look more like, you know, like a metal type of weapons and all that. And I can understand that, and make them gold and give that a different, you know, feel to it. But I'm just kind of saying that that's a possibility. They went that way with it, or they could have just made them all orange, just like the armor that people wanted, since it is a vintage collection. But I also do think it's Masterverse, so they kind of upped it a little bit with that. So now, you know what I want to do is I want to compare it to this faker here that we got, and I thought he was a really good faker. This guy here, I thought he was a really, really good faker when it came out. But I'm looking at, and I like his face. You can see his face. His face looks really, really neat with those dead eyes. It looks really, really neat. His sword is like a purple metallic, and his axe is a very tangerine-ish color orange, a little bit, you know, very light tangerine style color compared to the more classic of the vintage collection faker. And his buck is the buck that they used for the Revelation figures, which is fine, you know, because that's what their style is, what they're going for. And this right here, this belt here, has some neat and interesting looking details on it, which I thought came really nice. And then the colors that they used, different purples that they used with a wash, a kind of wash, and more metallic, a little bit of wash here. I thought they did a really nice job, and he was my number one faker here. The other one was a little bit more, they took kind of like their liberties with the other faker, and I get it. I see it. And he's not bad, but he's not the faker that you know, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but he's not the faker that I see as faker, basically. He's not that. This is the faker in Masterverse that I see as faker right here. That is my go-to faker from now on. He is, and this guy here, he's got that purple, that really violet or violety purple armor here, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know, but he's got that. I like it, but it's not this. It's not this guy here. He's just, and that big, the armor's bigger because of his buck is bigger, and it comes down a little bit more, and it just seems like it's just a nicer figure. The face is just, I just feel like the face is a lot nicer. And not for nothing, he's got brown hair here. And he's supposed to have orange hair, and this is brown hair. So, and the colors of the skin tone do not match. So it's impossible. You could, if you take the heads and put it, he's more bluer, and he's more of a light color blue, just like the Skeletor. He's kind of close to Skeletor. So you can't kind of swap things and stuff like that. I mean, I guess the weapons you could swap, but I like to keep my stuff together. I kind of like to keep everything together. I don't swap stuff. I don't really do, a lot of people like to customize and swap arms and heads and things. I don't do that. I like my figures the way they come. I just like them that way. I don't really care to swap them out and keep them that way. It's just me. I guess it could be like it could be a little OCD there. I just kind of like when they have their own weapons and they have their own stuff together. And it just bothers me that, like, people love to get custom heads, and that's not me. I keep the heads on them, the ones that came with, even though the heads are not always perfect, I don't buy custom heads. I keep the regular heads on them, and it's just me. I don't speak for everybody. It's just me. I like to keep my figures together, complete together with their own accessories. It's just me. But all in all, this faker, it just looks amazing. I mean, I just received him today, and I was like, I have to do a video on this because I find that this is the best one so far. And going forward, let's say, because I have other ones to do here. I didn't do yet the Ninjor, and I didn't do the She-Ra, which I do like the She-Ra a lot. But it's based on the toy version of She-Ra. So maybe I should I should do that very, very in the near future and then I got those Wave 25 there that I have to do also. But I should do those in the near future. Ninjor, my opinion is She-Ra is great and is based on the toy version of She-Ra. So I've seen some comparison. I do watch comparisons. And I've seen some where they're saying, well, they're kind of disappointed with She-Ra and this, and they're kind of disappointed. Why wasn't she like the other one with this or that? Like that, because that one was based more on the cartoon version, and this one is based on the toy version. So that to me is where things are kind of like, they're just kind of like trying to do something different and trying to do this new ethereal line, and it's based on that toy. version. You could see her sword. It's the toy version sword. You could see the way she looks, her outfit. It's the toy version. And I like it. I think it looks great. And Ninjor is another great figure. I tell you, he's looking like one of the best in the wave. I think he's one of the best in the wave. You know, I like him. But going back to Faker now, you know, in that vintage collection wave between Skeletor and Zodak, and this Faker here, he's actually, I think the Faker is the best in that. I don't know if it's separate wave, but it's kind of like the same. But I think he's one of the best in that in those vintage collections so far. I like the Skeletor, but my opinion, he's my sort of go-to. Now, what I was going to say was, going forward with the vintage collection, you know, there's things that are pointing at more of the future figures, and some of my like top picks for the future figures of the vintage collection is, and we were teased, we did have a tease, I think, I'm trying to think if it was the back of this here. No, it wasn't the back of this. It must have been the back of one of the Ninja, or yeah, probably Ninja, the back of Ninja. We were teased with Scareglow, and I would love to have a vintage collection Scareglow. You know, the other Scareglow for Revelation was okay. It wasn't really my favorite, but man, I would love to have the vintage collection Scareglow. That would be really, really cool to have. And another thing that's coming, which I'm going to do a video on when it comes, I'm getting my blade, and my blade was shipped out. And my blade's coming from BBTS. It's sold out so fast. I'm so glad I pulled the trigger for that one, because it's sold out already. It's sold out so fast. And I hope it comes back soon. I'll get more inventory in, because that's such a great figure, and it's definitely well needed in that 1987 movie line. But here you have it, guys. I mean, this is the vintage collection Faker, and did a little comparison with the new Eternia Faker, and I tell you, very different, very different. I love this face. This is, I know people are saying that they still didn't get the He-Man face right, and I see what's you know, I see that, you know, they got close, really, really close with the Origins version, really, really close, and it looks great. But this is Masterverse, and I guess they want to do something that is, you know, it's based on the way the aesthetic of the toy is. It can't be exactly like the toy version from the vintage, but they try to do it a little bit aesthetically the same as the figures are, the 7-inch figures are. They're more of, these 7-inch figures are more proportioned, lanky, a little more lanky. They're not like those big buff, you know, He-Man vintage figures that I love. They were always my favorite as a child, always, and still are. And that's my main line. I mainly collect Vintage, He-Man, Origins, and Masterverse. That is my main lines. Other ones I can pick and choose here what I want to get if I like it, but these are my main lines. And I didn't get into classics. Classics it just by the time I even knew about classics, and a lot of people base all this off of classics, and they go, well, this is not classics. This doesn't look like classics. The issue there really is no comparing Masterverse to classics. So comparing is like basically apples to oranges. It's a different type of quality that goes into classics than goes into Masterverse. Masterverse is more, classics was more of a mail-in thing in the beginning and all that. It was a mail-in. It wasn't retail. It was mail-in. They did a lot of different things. They took liberties. They put so many figures in classics that were in the lore, and actually other figures that they created in classics that was put into the lore. So you can't really compare Masterverse with classics. Masterverse is its own thing. Masterverse started with the Revelation cartoon, then they started Masterverse. So that was based on that cartoon. It's the quality of the paint in classics and the details and the accessories they gave you with it were a different, from when I look at them, it was different altogether. It was just more of a premium looking figure. Since I myself never had the opportunity to collect classics, I chose getting into the Masterverse from the beginning, so I have them all. I don't buy 2-3 Masterverse figures. I buy one, and I keep one. I don't get into that. I have multiples of the Origins figures, but not the Masterverse. I'll buy one, and that'll be fine. I'll have one or two. That's it. But I buy them all, and that's all I need. I know some people buy just multiples of stuff. Like, there are people that have the entire classics line, and they got in from the beginning. And you know what? That's great, because in the beginning, they weren't so pricey. But now, they are pretty expensive now. So if you really are trying to get the main guys from classics, you're kind of looking at spending a pretty penny on them compared to spending $23 on $23 or $24 on Masterverse stuff. So you can put it in that light. If you have all your classics figures and you decide, I don't want Masterverse, I'll pick and choose, I'll cherry pick Masterverse and to compare them with, like, to make them, put them into the classics line and give them a little wash and make them look classics, just like Hebrew. He just cherry picks here and there, but he is a classics guy. You know, he loves his classics, and I don't, you don't blame a person for really sticking to that one thing that they really love. I mean, he has multiples of it. I watch every video. And if you've never seen Hebrew, check him out, because I watch every video, and sometimes multiple times. I'm a big fan of his. And I have to say that during like COVID and all that, I watched Hebrew. I found Hebrew during COVID, and he got, believe me, I watched back to back all his episodes, and he would come up and show you his customizations and stuff. And I'm telling you, guys, if you've never watched Hebrew, watch Hebrew. He's got some great videos, and he shows you all his classics, and he compares them, and he customizes them. And I give him a lot of credit for doing that, because I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could customize an expensive classics figure. You know, I don't think I could do that. So he makes some good stuff. If you ever need anything, like he puts it on eBay. His 3D prints of different accessories he does, and some things he does. He makes he makes accessories, weapons, and things like that. He did this big staircase, and like he does walls and things for Castle Grayskull, and I mean, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So check him out. Give him a watch. Well, I've been rambling on, guys, so I wanted to keep this video at least a little short. And now we're hitting like 20 seconds because he got bored. Now we're hitting 26, almost 26 minutes. All right, stand there. So there you go, guys. Thanks so much for checking me out. And until next time, take it easy. And you got the pen.